What if your words could cost you your life? Now imagine a world where expressing your thoughts, voicing your concerns, and challenging the status quo could lead to fatal consequences. This isn't a dystopian fantasy, but a harsh reality lived by Dele Giwa, a Nigerian journalist whose daring penmanship stirred the hornet's nest. His audacious articles and unfiltered opinions allegedly marked him for a tragic end. A parcel bomb, a quiet study room, and an untimely death. This was the fate of a man who dared to speak truth to power. This is the chilling story of Dele Giwa. Dele Giwa, a man not afraid to speak his mind. A renowned journalist, Giwa was known for his critical articles that often questioned the actions of the government. His pen was his sword, and he wielded it with unflinching courage. One of these articles, in which he described the newly introduced second-tier foreign exchange market as God's experiment, caught the attention of the State Security Service. In this article, he suggested that if this experiment failed, the people would not hesitate to stone their leaders in the streets. In response to his bold words, Giwa was invited to the SS headquarters for the first time on the 19th of September, 1986. Here he was interviewed and his statement taken by 2 SS operatives. He was later taken to meet with Leuthold Togun, the deputy director of the agency, in his office. Togun reportedly found nothing offensive in the story, as Giwa had also stated that he held hope that Babangida seemed determined to make the second-tier foreign exchange market work. But the story doesn't end here. On the 9th of October, Giwa and Alex Ibru organised a media parley for media executives and the newly created SSS. Lieutenant Colonel A.K. Togun, the deputy director of the SS, claimed that it was during this meeting that the SSS and the media executives reached a secret censorship agreement. Under this agreement, the media was to report any story with potential to embarrass the government to the SS before they tried to publish it. Giwa, a man of principles, was not one to be silenced. He continued his work, undeterred by the looming threat of censorship. He was a voice for the voiceless, daring to write the other side of stories that held the potential to ruffle some powerful feathers. But little did he know his words were about to ignite a deadly chain of events. Days before his death, Giwa's life took a dark turn. In the weeks leading to his untimely demise, Dele Giwa found himself under intense scrutiny. His articles, which often poked holes in the government's policies, did not sit well with the powers that be. In particular, his description of the newly introduced second-tier foreign exchange market as God's experiment had drawn the ire of the State Security Service, SAS. Giwa was invited to the SAS headquarters for the first time on the 19th of September 1986. Here he was interviewed and his statement taken by 2 SSS operatives. He was later introduced to Lieutenant Leuthold Togun, the deputy director of the agency, who surprisingly found nothing offensive in Giwa's story. It seemed for a moment that Giwa had dodged a bullet. However, the respite was short-lived. On the 16th of October, Giwa received a phone call from Kol Halilu Akilu of the Directorate of Military Intelligence, DMI. Giwa was accused of discussing arms importation, an allegation that would see him summoned to the SSS headquarters yet again. Then, in a twist of events, Giwa was accused of planning to write the other side of the story on Ebitu Ukiwe's removal as Chief of the General Staff to General Babangida. Lieutenant Kol Togun went on to accuse Giwa and Newswatch of plotting with the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC, the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, and students to carry out a socialist revolution. Furthermore, Giwa was also accused of promising to employ the suspended police public relations officer, Alozi Ogugbwaja. Ogugbwaja had earlier claimed that a bomb was defused at his residence on the 16th of October, 1986, and suspected that his phone was bugged. Giwa, feeling the weight of these accusations, feared for his life. The constant interrogations and mounting allegations had taken a toll on him. He confided in his friend Prince Tony Momo, then the Minister of Communications, expressing his fear and anxiety over the situation. Little did he know that his fears would soon become a horrifying reality. October 19th, 1986, a day that would forever be etched in Nigeria's history. On this fateful Sunday, Dele Giwa, a man renowned for his audacious journalism, was in his study with Kayode Soyinka. The tranquility of the day was soon shattered by an event that would become a chilling chapter in Nigeria's chronicles. A parcel arrived at Giwa's home in Ikeja, Lagos. Unbeknownst to him, this was not an ordinary parcel. It was a harbinger of doom, a sinister device designed to silence a voice that had become inconvenient for some. The parcel, disguised as an innocuous delivery, contained a bomb. As Giwa opened it in his study, the bomb detonated, extinguishing the life of one of Nigeria's most courageous journalists in an instant. The assassination was not just a brutal end to Giwa's life, but it also marked a dark day for freedom of speech and journalistic integrity in Nigeria. It occurred just 2 days after Giwa had been interviewed by State Security Service (SSS) officials, adding a sense of foreboding to the incident. The timing of the bombing, coupled with the nature of the weapon used, sparked controversy and speculation about the forces that could have been behind this horrifying act. The parcel bomb, a method of assassination rarely seen in Nigeria, symbolized the ruthless lengths to which those threatened by Giwa's fearless reporting were willing to go. The bomb did not just destroy Giwa's life, it also sent a chilling message to other journalists and critics of the regime, a grim reminder of the potential cost of speaking truth to power. The death of Dele Giwa was more than just the loss of a man. It was the extinguishing of a beacon of journalistic bravery, a voice that dared to challenge the status quo, an advocate for truth in a time of deceit. The echoes of the explosion that ended Giwa's life reverberate even today, a grim reminder of the sacrifices made in the pursuit of truth and justice. In a blink of an eye, Nigeria lost one of its most fearless voices. As the dust settled in Giwa's study, the country was left grappling with the chilling reality of what had transpired and the profound implications of this brutal and calculated act of violence. In the wake of Giwa's death, a cloud of fear and suspicion hovered over Nigeria. It was a chilling reminder of the perils that awaited those who dared to speak truth to power. In the tight-knit community of Nigerian journalists, the shock was palpable. They had lost one of their own, a beacon of courage and integrity, in an act of violence that seemed intended to silence not just one voice, but the entire press. Yet in the face of such adversity, the press did not cower. Instead, the tragic incident served as a catalyst, sparking an even greater commitment to the pursuit of truth and justice. Journalists across the nation banded together, vowing to carry on Giwa's legacy. They refused to let fear dictate their actions, choosing instead to uphold the ideals of freedom of speech and the right to information that Giwa had championed. Meanwhile, suspicion towards the government grew. The circumstances surrounding Giwa's death were murky at best, with many unanswered questions remaining. The fact that he had been questioned by State Security Service officials just days before his death raised eyebrows. The accusations leveled against him, the alarming phone calls, the potential bugging of his home, all these elements formed a puzzle that pointed towards a sinister plot. Unsurprisingly, the government's investigation into Giwa's death left much to be desired. Despite the outcry from the public and the press, the truth about who was responsible for his assassination and why remains shrouded in mystery to this day. This lack of closure only served to fuel the distrust towards the government, casting a long shadow over its credibility. Giwa's death left a void in Nigerian journalism that is still felt today. His fearless pursuit of truth, his unwavering dedication to his profession, and his tragic end serve as a stark reminder of the high cost of journalistic integrity in the face of governmental oppression, and yet his legacy lives on, inspiring countless others to follow in his footsteps, to question, to probe, and to expose the truth, no matter the cost. Dele Giwa's story is a stark reminder of the price of freedom of speech. This tale is one of audacity, of a man who dared to question the status quo, to push boundaries, to risk it all in the pursuit of truth. Dele Giwa, a renowned journalist, was never one to shy away from controversy. His probing articles and unrelenting pursuit of truth put him in the crosshairs of powerful individuals. Giwa's story took a dark turn following his critique of the second-tier foreign exchange market, an event that marked the beginning of a series of intense interrogations by the State Security Service. In the face of these trials, Giwa remained unfazed, standing firmly by his words and convictions. His subsequent assassination, a chilling incident that unfolded on a seemingly ordinary Sunday in October 1986, was a shock that reverberated across Nigeria and beyond. The parcel bomb that ended his life in his own study was a brutal testament to the lengths to which some would go to silence a voice of dissent. In the aftermath of this tragic event, the echoes of Giwa's voice did not fade away. Instead, they grew louder, inspiring generations of journalists who continue to uphold the values of truth and freedom that Giwa embodied. Dele Giwa, a name that echoes through the halls of Nigerian journalism, a symbol of courage and a chilling reminder of the cost of speaking truth to power.